Ethan Carter's heart raced as he stood before the Trill Council, a gathering of stern-faced aliens whose distrust was evident. "You want me to do what?" he asked, his voice a mixture of surprise and concern. Varun, a tall and imposing Trill male, translated the council's decree. "To gain our trust, you must engage with our females. Understand, their pheromones are lethal to non-Tyrell males if exposed for long." Ethan took a deep breath, considering the gravity of his task. He was a seasoned diplomat, accustomed to bridging divides between vastly different species. But this mission was unlike any he had faced. The Trill females were shrouded in mystery, their biological danger making them a forbidden subject of interaction. Upon his arrival on the Trill homeworld, Ethan marveled at the stark beauty of the landscape, a combination of harsh deserts and towering crystalline structures. The air was crisp, almost sterile, and the sky a deep shade of indigo, dotted with unfamiliar constellations. Varun, assigned as his guide, maintained a cold distance, offering little more than essential information. Their first destination was a vast hall where Ethan would meet Lyra, the Trill female chosen for this unprecedented interaction. The hall was dimly lit, the walls adorned with intricate carvings depicting Trill history and mythology. Ethan's senses were heightened. He could almost feel the weight of tradition and expectation pressing down on him. Lyra entered gracefully, her eyes locking onto Ethan's with a mixture of curiosity and caution. She was tall, her skin a delicate shade of blue that seemed to shimmer under the soft lighting. Despite the danger, Ethan felt a deep need to communicate, to understand this enigmatic species. "Greetings, Lyra." Ethan began, his voice steady. "I am here to learn about your people, and I hope to share our culture with you." Lyra responded in her melodic language, her words translated by a small device Ethan carried. "You are brave, human, to seek what others fear, but bravery alone may not be enough." Their initial conversations were awkward, filled with pauses and misunderstandings. Ethan spoke of Earth, its diverse cultures and histories, while Lyra shared tales of the Trill's past, their advancements, and the reasons behind their isolation. The specialized suit Ethan wore protected him from the lethal pheromones, but he still felt the tension in the air. As days passed, Ethan and Lyra found common ground through their shared curiosity and respect for each other's traditions. Ethan learned that the Trill's fear of outsiders stemmed from a long-ago war that had nearly wiped out their species. Lyra, in turn, saw in Ethan a genuine desire to bridge the gap between their worlds. Varun, who had been skeptical of Ethan's intentions, began to see the potential for change. He observed the growing understanding between the human and the Trill female, and it challenged his own beliefs. The rigid structures of his society, once unquestionable, now seemed like barriers to progress. One evening, as Ethan and Lyra discussed their respective worlds, a loud explosion rocked the hall. The attack, orchestrated by a faction within the Trill who opposed the alliance, was sudden and violent. Ethan and Lyra were thrown to the ground, their protective suits the only thing saving them from the deadly pheromones that now filled the air. Ethan scrambled to his feet, helping Lyra up. "We need to get to safety," he urged, his voice urgent but calm. They navigated through the chaos, finding refuge in a secure chamber. Varun, having rushed to their aid, secured the entrance and assessed the situation. "The faction will stop at nothing to prevent this alliance," Varun said, his tone grim. "But we cannot let them succeed." Ethan's mind raced with plans. This attack had revealed the deep divisions within the Trill society, but it also underscored the importance of their mission. As they regrouped, he felt a renewed determination to succeed, not just for the sake of the alliance, but for the future of both their species. The night ended with Ethan and Lyra sharing a moment of quiet reflection. The attack had brought them closer, their shared ordeal forging a bond that transcended their differences. Ethan looked at Lyra, seeing in her eyes a mixture of fear and hope. "We can do this," he said softly, his voice filled with conviction. "Together, we can make this work." Lyra nodded, her resolve matching his own. "Yes, Ethan. Together." Ethan Carter awoke to the sound of soft beeps from his medical scanner. The events of the previous night played over in his mind, the attack, the escape, and the fragile trust being built. He glanced at Lyra, who was seated nearby, her eyes filled with a mix of concern and resolve. "You should rest," she said, her voice gentle yet firm. "I'm fine," Ethan replied, though the pain in his side told a different story. "We need to figure out our next steps." Varun entered the room, his expression stern. "The faction that attacked us is growing bolder. They see our efforts as a threat to their power." Ethan nodded, understanding the complexity of the situation. The Trill were a society on the brink of change, and his presence had become a catalyst for both hope and fear. He turned to Lyra, whose insights had been invaluable. "We need to rally more support. Can you help me reach out to other Trill who might be sympathetic to our cause?" Lyra's eyes brightened with determination. "There are those who dream of a future beyond our isolation. I can introduce you to a few influential voices." Their plan set, Ethan, Lyra, and Varun ventured out, using a network of underground passages to avoid detection. As they moved, Ethan couldn't help but marvel at the intricate design of the Trill city, with its bioluminescent plants and flowing crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with life. Their first stop was the home of Eldar Rail, an elder known for his progressive views. Rail's residence was a striking blend of traditional and modern elements, symbolizing his balanced outlook. As they approached, Rail greeted them with a wary smile. "I have heard much about you, human. Your bravery and foolishness are equally renowned." Ethan chuckled, appreciating the elder's candor. "I prefer to think of it as calculated risk." Rail invited them inside, offering a gesture of peace. Over a meal of exotic fruits and delicacies, Ethan presented his vision of a united future. Rail listened intently, his eyes reflecting years of wisdom and experience. "You speak of a future that many here fear," Rail said thoughtfully. "But fear has kept us stagnant for too long. I will support your cause, but you must prove that this alliance will not lead to our ruin." Lyra spoke up, her voice steady. "Ethan has shown me a different perspective. We need this connection to grow, to evolve." Rail nodded, convinced by the sincerity in Lyra's words. "Very well. I will convene a meeting with other like-minded elders. But beware, the opposition will not sit idly by." As they left Rail's home, Ethan felt a glimmer of optimism. The elder's support was a significant step forward, but the road ahead remained fraught with challenges. Varun, ever pragmatic, reminded them of the dangers. "Rail's backing is valuable, but it also paints a target on our backs. We must stay vigilant." Days turned into weeks as Ethan and his allies worked tirelessly to build a coalition. Each new supporter brought hope but also increased the tension within the Trill society. Meanwhile, the faction against them grew more desperate, their tactics more aggressive. One evening, as Ethan and Lyra were deep in conversation, an urgent message came through from Varun. "Meet me at the old observatory. It's not safe here." The observatory, a relic from a bygone era, was a place of contemplation and knowledge. Ethan and Lyra arrived to find Varun waiting, his expression grave. "There's been another attack. This time, they targeted one of our key supporters." The news hit hard. Their enemies were escalating their efforts, and the threat was becoming more personal. Ethan clenched his fists, a mixture of anger and resolve coursing through him. "We need to act. If we wait, more lives will be lost." Lyra placed a hand on his arm, her touch grounding him. "We will not give up. There is too much at stake." In the dim light of the observatory, the three of them devised a plan. They would hold a public forum, inviting both supporters and skeptics to openly discuss the future of their society. It was a risky move, but Ethan believed that transparency and dialogue were the only ways to overcome fear. The night of the forum arrived, and the tension in the air was palpable. The grand hall was filled with Trill of all ages, their faces a mosaic of emotions. Ethan took the stage alongside Lyra and Varun, ready to present their case. As Ethan began to speak, he felt a surge of determination. He outlined their vision for a united future, emphasizing the mutual benefits of an alliance. Lyra spoke next, sharing her personal journey and the lessons she had learned from Ethan. The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement, others frowning in skepticism. Just as the atmosphere seemed to settle, a loud crash echoed through the hall. The opposing faction had arrived, their intent clear. Ethan stood his ground, his voice unwavering. We are not here to fight. We are here to build a future together. The leader of the faction, a fierce trill named Korik, stepped forward. Your words are empty, human. You endanger our very existence. Lyra moved beside Ethan, her voice strong and clear. We seek to grow, not to destroy. The time for isolation is over. Ethan Carter stood in the center of the grand hall, the recent memories of the attack still fresh in his mind. The forum had begun with a sense of apprehension, but now, with Elder Rael's support, there was a cautious optimism in the air. The room was filled with trill of all ages, their expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed the assembly. We are at a crossroads. The choices we make now will define our future. I have seen what collaboration with humans can bring, and I believe it is a path worth exploring. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder, some nodding in agreement, others whispering their doubts. Ethan felt the weight of their expectations but remained resolute. He knew that this was a pivotal moment, one that required both courage and conviction. Varun, standing by his side, added his voice to the discussion. I have seen firsthand the potential for growth that comes from understanding and cooperation. We cannot let fear dictate our actions any longer. As the debate continued, Ethan noticed a figure lurking at the edge of the crowd. It was Korik, the leader of the faction opposed to their efforts. His presence was a stark reminder of the dangers they faced. Ethan knew that any misstep could result in further violence, but he also understood that progress often came with risks. Elder Rael raised his hand, calling for silence. Let us hear from the human who has risked much to be here. Ethan, share with us your vision. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. Thank you, Elder Rael. I come from a world where diversity and collaboration have led to great advancements. I believe that by working together, we can create a future where both our species thrive. This is not about domination or control. It is about mutual respect and shared prosperity. The hall was silent as Ethan spoke, his words resonating with many, but also stirring unease in others. He knew that actions would speak louder than words, but for now he had to trust that his message would find its mark. After the forum, Ethan, Lyra, and Varun retreated to a quiet room to discuss their next steps. The air was thick with the tension of recent events, but there was also a sense of camaraderie that had begun to form among them. We have gained some support, but it is not enough, Lyra said, her eyes reflecting the weight of their task. We need to find a way to reach those who are still undecided. Varun nodded in agreement. There are influential figures within the Trill Society who remain neutral. If we can sway them, it could turn the tide in our favor. Ethan considered their options, realizing that they needed a bold move to capture the attention of the undecided. What if we organize a demonstration of what our collaboration can achieve? Something tangible that showcases the benefits of working together. Lyra's eyes lit up with the spark of an idea. We could repair the old energy grid in the outskirts. It has been in disrepair for years, and many believe it to be beyond saving. If we can restore it, it would be a powerful symbol of what we can accomplish together. Varun agreed, seeing the potential impact of such an endeavor. It is a risky move, but it could work. The energy grid is vital to many remote communities. Restoring it would earn us their gratitude and support. They set to work, mobilizing a team of volunteers and gathering the necessary resources. As they traveled to the outskirts, Ethan marveled at the determination and resilience of the Trill who joined them. It was clear that despite their differences, there was a common desire for a better future. The restoration project proved to be challenging, with numerous setbacks and obstacles. Yet, with each hurdle, the team grew more united, their shared purpose driving them forward. Ethan worked side by side with Lyra and Varun, their bond strengthening as they faced the difficulties together. One evening, as they took a brief rest, Lyra spoke softly. I never imagined I would be here, working with a human, striving for a shared dream. It is both terrifying and exhilarating. Ethan smiled, understanding her mixed emotions. Change is never easy, but it is often necessary. We are forging a new path, one that requires us to trust and support each other. Their efforts culminated in a moment of triumph as the energy grid finally came to life, its lights illuminating the night sky. The remote communities, long resigned to their isolation, gathered in awe and gratitude. The success of the project was a testament to the power of collaboration and the promise of a brighter future. As they stood amidst the celebrating crowd, Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had achieved something remarkable, but he knew their journey was far from over. The real work lay ahead, in maintaining and building upon the fragile alliance they had begun to forge. Ethan, Lyra, and Varun returned to the central city, their spirits lifted by the success of their mission. The restoration of the energy grid had sent a powerful message, one that could not be ignored. The tide was beginning to turn, but the opposition was still strong, and the path forward remained uncertain. In a private meeting with Elder Rail, Ethan shared his reflections. We have made progress, but there are still many challenges ahead. The opposition will not rest, and we must remain vigilant. Ethan Carter stood on the balcony of the Trill Council chamber, gazing at the bustling city below. The recent success in restoring the energy grid had given their mission a much-needed boost. The Trill were beginning to see the potential benefits of cooperation, and hope was slowly spreading among them. Lyra joined him, her eyes reflecting the city's soft glow. We have come far, but the true test is yet to come. The opposition grows stronger each day. Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. We need to stay ahead of them. Our next move must be decisive. Their conversation was interrupted by Varun, who approached with urgent news. Ethan, Lyra, we have received intelligence that Korik and his faction are planning a major attack. They aim to undermine everything we've achieved. Ethan's jaw tightened. Do we know their target? Varun shook his head. Not yet, but we have intercepted communications suggesting it will be an event with significant symbolic value. Lyra's face grew stern. We need to find out more and stop them. If they succeed, it could unravel all our efforts. The trio quickly convened a meeting with their closest allies, including Elder Rail. They decided to increase surveillance and gather more information on Korik's plans. Ethan, Lyra, and Varun split up to cover more ground, each taking a sector of the city. Ethan navigated the narrow alleyways of the old market district, his senses alert to any signs of trouble. He spoke with vendors and residents, piecing together fragments of information. As he moved deeper into the district, he overheard a conversation that caught his attention. Two Trill males, speaking in hushed tones, mentioned a gathering at the ancient amphitheater, a site of great historical importance to the Trill. Ethan's heart quickened. This must be the target. He relayed the information to Lyra and Varun, who quickly mobilized their forces. They knew they had to act swiftly to prevent the attack. The amphitheater was a symbol of unity and culture for the Trill. Its destruction would deal a devastating blow to their morale. As they arrived at the amphitheater, they found Korik and his followers setting up explosive devices. Ethan, Lyra, and Varun, along with their allies, moved in to confront them. A tense standoff ensued. Korik sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. You think you can stop us? You are naive human. The Trill do not need your help. Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm yet firm. This isn't about needing help. It's about building a future together, one where we can all prosper. Korik laughed bitterly. Your words are meaningless. We will never bow to outsiders. The situation escalated quickly. Varun and Lyra worked to defuse the explosives while Ethan and their allies engaged Korik's followers. The confrontation was intense, each side determined to prevail. Ethan found himself facing Korik directly. The Trill leader was strong and aggressive, but Ethan's determination gave him an edge. They exchanged blows, each strike echoing the larger conflict between their ideals. As they fought, Ethan noticed a glint of uncertainty in Korik's eyes. He seized the moment, speaking with conviction. You don't have to do this, Korik. We can find another way. A way that doesn't involve destruction. For a moment, Korik hesitated, his resolve wavering. But then, with a snarl, he redoubled his efforts, pushing Ethan to his limits. Just as Korik seemed poised to deliver a final blow, Lyra intervened, knocking him off balance. Varun finished defusing the last explosive, and their allies subdued Korik's remaining followers. The immediate threat was neutralized, but Ethan knew their work was far from over. Elder Rael arrived, having heard of the confrontation. He looked at the subdued Korik and then at Ethan. You have done well, but this victory is only the beginning. We must now work to heal the divisions within our society. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. We will continue to strive for unity and understanding. It's the only way forward.